I'm Sid Sperry, Director of Public Relations, Communications, and Research at the Oklahoma Association of Electric Cooperatives, Oklahoma City, and President and CEO of Speedy Weather Solutions, Guthrie. In this video, I'll be discussing sustainable energy solutions to climate change. Energy production is a key component of building vibrant, safe, and economically strong societies. Since the Industrial Revolution of the late 18th century, we have relied heavily on burning fossil fuels to power our homes, transport our materials and supplies, and operate our industries and businesses. Fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal are concentrated energy sources formed when dead plant and animal matter is compressed over time under the Earth's surface. When burned, they release carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. Developing nations, such as India and China, are in need of more energy to fuel their growing economies. In fact, projections indicate that worldwide demand for electricity may double over the next 40 years. Meeting this demand with fossil fuels alone will increase the amount of greenhouse gases being released into the atmosphere. As we know, greenhouse gases contribute to sea level rise, more intense rainfall events, hotter temperature extremes, and other consequences. However, there are several renewable energy sources that do not release carbon dioxide. In the past, many of these sources were priced too high to be viable solutions. But with today's technologies, geothermal, wind, hydroelectric, nuclear power, and solar photovoltaic are now more economically competitive. In fact, much of the new growth in the energy sector is a result of adding sustainable energy capacity. This diversification and growth of the energy sector gives communities the option to reduce their carbon output while still meeting energy needs and providing jobs. When we talk about sustainable energy, we usually focus on 6 power sources: wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, biomass, and geothermal. All but nuclear are considered renewable energy sources. Renewable energy can be naturally replenished. To help you understand the state of sustainable energy technology in the United States, we will discuss how each of these work, how much energy they currently provide, and how this technology might be further developed to improve our capacity for sustainable energy production. Wind turbines have been generating power to operate machines in the Middle East for well over 1,000 years. Today, turbines can convert the energy from air motions into electricity on a massive scale. Texas currently leads the nation in installed wind capacity, topping out near 20,000 megawatts of capacity at the end of 2016. That's enough energy to power 5.3 million American homes. While a great start, it does not completely cover the amount of electricity that Texas uses. A big challenge for wind is a mismatch between when it is most abundant and when energy needs are highest. Winds are generally not strong during the hottest days of the year when the energy is needed most for air conditioning. The sun is another source of renewable energy. Electricity can be produced by the sun in many ways, but solar photovoltaics are most associated with solar power generation. You may have seen solar panels being installed on homes, businesses, and even in utility-scale solar power plants near where you live. Although the cost of solar energy is decreasing rapidly, the U.S. only has about 25,000 megawatts of installed capacity. Even China, which leads the world in solar capacity, only has about 50,000 megawatts installed. This is in part because storing and transporting solar energy is challenging, meaning that communities powered only by solar might have intermittent energy. Without a technological innovation, solar energy generation likely will continue to be most useful as a decentralized source of electricity, especially in rural communities and in countries without an extensive power grid. By burning biological material such as wood or corn, we can also generate electricity. But even though it's renewable, biomass energy generation is not pollution-free. The burning process not only emits carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but it also produces fine particulates that contribute to air pollution and respiratory health issues. Still, biomass can be transported as a fuel in solid or liquid forms, which can be an advantage over other renewable sources. Biomass products, such as ethanol, can be mixed with other fuel sources, such as petroleum, to reduce the consumption of fossil fuels. Hydroelectric or geothermal power plants use turbines to harness the energy generated by the movement of water and Earth's geological activity, respectively. Power plants that use hydroelectric or geothermal energy were developed in the late 1880s or early 1900s, although farm-scale or household use of these energy sources extends back for centuries. Geothermal power plants in the U.S. generate much less energy than even solar plants do. But moving water generates more of the world's energy today than wind. Most hydroelectric plants have been built in the process of constructing the dam for a reservoir. Energy production is dependent on how much water utility managers release downstream. While nuclear power is not renewable, it is a low-carbon alternative source of energy that is relevant to our discussion. Since the 1950s, nuclear power plants have generated power by heating water, generating steam, and forcing turbines to rotate and produce electricity. Uranium atoms are split using nuclear fission, and this process generates a self-sustaining chain reaction that can be controlled to produce massive amounts of heat. The biggest benefit of nuclear power in today's warming world is that no carbon dioxide is produced. But the radioactive materials and waste from the fission process must be safely contained and managed. Incidents at the 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima power plants caused many people to distrust nuclear power generation, even though current technologies have been proven extremely safe. Today, about 20% of the electricity generated in the United States is from nuclear power. Some experts advocate the construction of more nuclear power plants as a way of adding energy capacity without producing greenhouse gas emissions. As we look into the future, it is clear that the demand for energy will continue to increase dramatically across the world. It is also likely that our energy portfolio will need to diversify with a larger percentage of energy produced by sustainable sources, including nuclear, wind, and solar power. Many countries are quickly developing infrastructure for sustainable energy generation. The market for clean energy jobs is growing worldwide, and with climate change, we expect substantial growth for decades to come.